Hi, welcome to Think Human. I'm Chris, and in this video I want to talk about the problem with metaphors. So we have these things, these metaphors, these ways of speaking about things to illustrate points, and quite often they do quite a great job, but sometimes we miss some crucial and important understanding, and it actually can be confusing sometimes using metaphors to talk about scientific concepts. So I would like to illustrate just a few. So this is one that you might have seen in movies. This is when people start explaining wormholes and this kind of tunnel between space and time where you can link 2 points in space together as a shortcut, and they usually have a piece of paper and they do something like, well, let's say you're in one side of the universe and there is another point in the universe that you try to get to, and then in normal circumstances you would need to travel this whole distance here, but using wormholes what we can do is we can link the space together, and we can do this thing, and then boom, the 2 points are connected. And it's kind of cartoon illustration. It kind of gets the point across, but actually that's a really strange and bizarre way of thinking about wormholes, because this would actually say that we're somehow taking the whole universe and flattening it out and somehow warping it in this kind of way, and there's a lot of different ideas that you can get from this illustration. They're useful as a really basic concept when you maybe first get introduced to an idea, but no actual real person studying these things in depth actually thinks about these things in terms of these kind of metaphors. They're useful for a start to get introduced to the idea, but at some point as you learn more about these things you kind of need to abandon some of these metaphors. They are great for some things, but sometimes they can actually misdirect and confuse the way that we look at the world. Another example I would like to bring is Leonard Susskind, which is a great physicist, astrophysicist, has done great things, and one of the things he talks about a black hole, and he imagines a kind of lake, and let's say it's an infinite lake, and then there is a black hole in the middle of the lake, and you could think of this as kind of a hole in the lake, and at the bottom it has like a bunch of sharp teeth. This is the first illustration ever. Anyway, you have this thing and all the water is circling around it, getting faster and faster, and once you pass this point it's like the event horizon, and once you pass this point there is no way you could get to the outside lake, so you're doomed to fall in and fall into the rocks that are below there. Now this is a kind of an interesting metaphor to think about black holes, but if you know something about black holes, this really gives a really basic idea, and it only gives part of the idea. This one actually kind of like, but people, depending on what kind of person you are, you can say this metaphor to one person and they will take the right things from it, and you can say this metaphor to another person and they might get a completely different idea from it. So this is why metaphors might get dangerous sometimes. Another example would be thinking about the world as a hologram, as you know, we imagine these kind of two-dimensional things that show three-dimensional information, and it's kind of correct, but again it's not truly correct thinking about the holographic principle. Another example would be thinking about atoms as a small solar system, which is a completely wrong idea. I've also made videos about this. You have this core of an atom with a proton and a neutron, and around it electrons circling like a solar system, when in actuality the electrons are more like a cloud. And it's a pity that this kind of idea of the solar system has been popularized as a metaphor for so long time, but people are beginning to turn this around, fortunately. So there's so many things like this, thinking of particles as little balls, when in fact all fundamental particles are waves and vibrations in fields, all kinds of stuff, which is useful in speaking in some kind of ways. But again, like I said before, some people can take the wrong information from that. So I just wanted to talk about this and bring out a few examples. So I hope you got some interesting ideas from this. If you have any thoughts, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.